Yeah, we're live now. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're listening to us from. This is Leadership Talk with Adegoke. And my guest on this session on Leadership Talk is Nicola Buckley. She's from Cornwall in the United Kingdom. Amazing lady. She's a leadership coach and she's showing up big time to add value. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, thank you. Yes, really good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
I'm excited to geek out on some leadership chat.
Now, tell us,
Yes.
who is Nicola?
Oh, wow. That's a big question. I am a fiance, yet to be married, 3 cancelled weddings in thanks to lockdown. So that's part of who I am. I am a double dog mum, so we might well have barking or jumping at the door at some point or something going on. I am a 45-year-old ex-corporate, had a 16-year really successful corporate marketing career, but I was always compromising who I was to fit in. I was told I was over-emotional, overreactive. I never felt like I could be myself, and I gave so much for so long. I really drained my own passion. So what I do now is I've had 2 successful businesses before this. So I've had a boot camp, and then I had a gym business.
Wow.
And I always found there was a group of women. So within the gym business, there would be women that would do everything we said and get immediate results, women that did bits of it and would get results, but it would take longer. Yeah. And then there was always a group that would invest but do hardly anything and be quite difficult and challenging, and just the fact that we would want obviously to get them results. And actually for them, going to the gym wasn't going to get them to feel how they wanted to feel. They wanted to feel enough. They wanted to feel confident and sexy and sure of themselves, and all the things that I help with now from a mindset perspective, and I go really deep with my clients, that's probably what those women needed. So that led me into geeking out on neuroscience. I've studied neuroscience for I think it's 8 years now, and awesome. I absolutely have my Mac Master, and that led me into, I've just finished my ICF certification, and I've just moved in specifically focusing on working with women within leadership. So my mission now is to help women in leadership roles, and also women that know that they have the potential, helping them find their fire. So help them find their purpose, their passion, their excitement, and do that without neglecting themselves or sacrificing family time, or without compromising who they are. And it's showing up as yourself with empathy and vulnerability, and being a role model to those around you of how to be a really strong, powerful female leader without being a yes woman or becoming like a man or taking on more masculine traits, or just, really compromising who you are. So it's powerful female leadership, but as absolutely as yourself.
Wow. Amazing. Congratulations. Well done. So that's Nicola for you. Nicola is well loaded. Your background is there. It's quite intimidating, but there you go. So what's the relationship between leadership and mentorship?
Yeah, so leadership is, for me, how I would define it, I start with my definition of leader is you're a leader of one from the day that you're born through to the day that you die. So over time, that might grow into you're a leader of a team or an area or a whole business. I tend to work with women that are leaders of whole businesses. So that for me is building on that foundation. Like if I'm a great leader of one, I'm responsible, I care for myself, I connect to myself, I nurture myself, I help myself grow and develop. That brings you into another level of leadership, I think, that can very much grow into that CEO, MD. I think mentorship is different. So I work with clients, some of my clients, my longer term clients, for them, I'm more of a mentor. So that would be more of you bring something to a conversation and you have something that's really challenging you that might be struggling with. And mentoring is more probably telling someone or giving them some advice or suggestions, whereas leadership is, this is where we're going. For my definition of leadership would be what Brené Brown would call a daring model of leadership, which be, this is where we're going, we're all going to go together, how do we get there? And a very kind of questioning, collaborative, community kind of based leadership rather, and whereas mentorship is more someone comes to you and they're looking to you for answers. Leadership, I think for me, my definition of leadership is I know the direction, but actually we're going to answer those questions together.
Awesome. If you're just joining us, I'm speaking alongside with Nicola Berkeley from Cornwall in the UK. We're looking at leadership and mentorship. Now, you've spoken about, the similarities, between leadership and mentorship. Now, I want you to speak to this. So what's the role of a mentor?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I had some amazing mentors in my corporate leadership day. I had amazing men and women and different levels of the organization, but the ones that helped me most were ones that we developed a really close relationship. They were ones where I felt free to talk about whatever I wanted to. I didn't feel judged. And really, it was kind of like a safe space when I was maybe having something that was quite challenging.
Yeah.
And I could go and speak to them and get their lens to things really, or for me personally, how they viewed things for me, but also a lot of them were very senior. So they had that higher level view of the organization. And that was brilliantly helpful to almost know that actually if there's a project I was working on was delayed, for example, it might be that there's a bigger context that they would know about. So I found it incredibly useful to have that almost aspiring as person I'd aspire to be or be inspired by at that very senior level, to kind of have that safe space to just, it's almost like, if you really admire someone and you'd love to sit in the pub with them and ask them loads of questions. Or if I don't drink, actually. So for me, it'd be going, let's go and grab the dogs and go for a walk. And it's almost that informality of being able to ask all those questions of, how do you influence? This person I find quite challenging. What's your sense on them? And do you have any ways that I can approach them in a different way? And just, I think mentoring is incredibly powerful. I think there's differences of counseling and mentoring and coaching that you have to be clear and agree at the beginning of boundaries and confidentiality and, what's the parameters of the relationship. But it can be, I think mentoring, I'm a huge fan of. And again, as I recently qualified as an ICF coach, but as part of that, over time, I'd love to give something back and do mentoring. Yeah. Thank you.
Now, I want you to speak to, oftentimes you have a mentor, and the mentor is maybe a friend, but, does it create a friction? If your friend is a mentor, would you be able to get value? Could you speak to that?
I think you can always get value. I have some incredible friends that in their own rights are incredibly successful, and I really value their opinion. I probably have some that I would go to if I want to kick up the arse and told to get on with it. I probably have other ones if I want to cry, I would go to, they're very empathetic. So, but I think part of the value of being a mentor, yes, setting those boundaries, setting those definitions of what the relationship is. But for me, the mentors that I got the most from, we actually over time developed a good close working relationship, and that helped me to build some real trust and confidence in the fact that they knew me, and they could directly speak to what they'd almost got to the point where they kind of had a sense of how I'd react to something when it happened. Awesome. Yeah. But yeah, good question.
Now, for leaders, do leaders need mentors? Do all leaders need mentors as well?
I think all leaders need a safe space to go and talk and share how they're feeling and what's going on for them. And that it might be at some points that's a mentor. It might be at some points that's a coach. It might be at some points, if they're really struggling with a certain thing, that it's a specialist counselor. It kind of, for me, the really important bit is almost the further up the ladder you get, the more lonely it can be. And, you don't necessarily, when you're an MD or CEO, like a lot of my clients are, you don't necessarily have a peer group around you, or you don't necessarily want to open up to your peer group and appear, be vulnerable in front of them potentially for fear of being judged. So for me, it's not so much which one it is. It's more about having that space, that really safe, judgment-free space to really share how you're feeling and what's going on for you. And as a leader, be able to reflect on behaviors or conversations or feelings and just use it to have a space to kind of reflect and grow.
Okay. Yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Now mentor mentee.
Yes.
Sometimes the mentor is a bit in terms of firm on the mentee. What's the expectation from the mentee? Relating to the mentor.
Yeah. I think that comes down to, so when I start work with any of my clients, I have a
Yeah,
process called contracting. So as a coach, it's the contracting process is being very clear on what are my responsibilities as a coach. So
yeah,
create a safe space, confidentiality. I only break that if there's anything I'm worried about that they might hurt themselves or someone else. Say what you want to, just all of that, judgment free. But also expectations around showing up and being open and honest. And also for the mentee to be super clear in their contracting of what their expectations of me are, but also what are my expectations of them.
yeah.
And just that huge clarity at the beginning, the clearer you can be at the beginning, even if it takes more time, the less there's going to be misunderstandings or maybe miscommunications as you go through the process. So I think, again, I remember when I was mentored in the corporate world, some of the brilliant mentors I had, and the first meeting would also always be, how do we want this to work? What's our conversation framework going to be? And then making it very clear it's confidential, it's safe. This only what we talk about here stays here, and yeah.
Wow, wow. Now, I mean, I just know that working alongside a mentor, you know, it raises the stakes. What's the difference between a coach and a mentor?
Yeah. So I love this. I love the subjects that you're covering today. So I am a coach. I have been a mentor, and for some of my clients, I combine that role. So to be super, super clear, so coaching is very much client focused, client led, and client centered. So
Okay.
coaching, a client would come to me with a particular goal or something they want to get past or something that they're maybe struggling with. And we, in our first session, we set that goal together. So almost like a big headline goal. And then in our sessions, we would work towards that goal. And we might go off to the left at one point, or go off to the right, or go all over the place. We still check in and make sure that goal is the same as we go through our sessions. So coaching has got the client absolutely at the heart of it, and they lead it. So it's the way I describe it. I love metaphors, by the way, so we're going to go for a metaphor. But it's almost like, if you're dancing with
Okay.
someone, so there's
Okay.
generally the more complicated dancing, rather than just going into local disco and just like see what happens, there'd be a person leading. So if you're doing more classical stuff, and it's almost like the client is leading it, but you're there with them in the dance, so you're there in the flow of the movement and where they want to go. So
Yeah.
that's coaching. Mentoring is more, I'm stuck on this thing and I want your perspective and I want almost like an answer from you or your view. So it's more advice, it's more, you're kind of leading them more than you are in coaching. Their lead, you're guiding them to the answers, but in mentoring, you're probably leading the conversation more.
Okay. Now, can you fire your mentor?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah. I don't even know if it's firing. I think there's two things that are really important about whether you're choosing a coach or a mentor. And I think the first thing is get to know that person, because you're probably going to spend a fair amount of time with them. So, do you feel like they've got good energy? Do you resonate with what they're saying? Do you feel like you could have a good open conversation? Do you feel like you can trust them? If you're looking for something like maybe a mentor, maybe it's like, is it someone that you feel that you would respect enough to be challenged by? So I think it's that bit at the beginning. And then I also think, I know for me as a coach, ultimately, I don't want a codependent relationship with my clients. I have some very long-term clients, but that's a choice for us both when there's a certain period of time passed and we could both sense it and feel it, or there's a contract kind of endpoint. Yeah. So it's that recognition of, are we still getting a lot from this? Is this still working? And being brave enough to call it out. And actually, it's okay if at some point during a coaching or mentoring process, I don't think you're the right person right now for me. And that's probably no reflection on what anyone's done. It's just, a time and a place and it all fitting together. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, this is massive. I just want to celebrate you, Nicola, for what you're doing.
Thank
Uh,
you.
you're sharing deep stuff. If you're just joining us, this is Leadership Talk with Adegoke, and this session, this is the 46th session, 46th
Wow.
session, and we're looking at leadership and mentorship, and we're drilling down. Now, I just want you to speak to this. So, how do you build a culture of mentorship, in a leadership environment?
I think building, it's almost, again, if you take it more widely, it's almost building a culture. So I love the Carol Dweck book Growth Mindset, and it's like, rather than a fixed mindset of leaders have the answer and they don't need anything from anyone else, it's that growth mindset.
Okay, yeah.
Always being curious, always wanting to learn, grow and develop. And even when you get to be the CEO and MD, there's always things you can learn from people all across the organization. So I think it's setting that growth mindset as a culture, knowing it's okay to challenge and question things for your understanding, and also because you bring a fresh perspective. And then within that, how do you support people to know that the culture is there to have those conversations, but also setting up official ways of having that support, whether that's mentoring or coaching, or what are the ways that suit your organization and your business to make that work really, really well.
Okay. So you've touched on so many areas. I mean, mentee, mentorship, leader, mentorship. Now, why is it very difficult for some people to subject themselves to that mentorship, journey?
I think you have to be you have to be ready to be. You have to be ready, and like we always said, like growth mindset within a coaching culture, but also a growth mindset for a particular person. And it might be they don't have the energy in that moment to kind of really learn. They don't have the time to really learn, or they're just feeling like they might have gone through. I know for me, I've been through a big phase of growth. So actually, I don't necessarily want to learn loads of new things at the moment. I want to really implement and integrate everything that I have learned.
Yeah.
And again, it might just be a timing thing for that person. It's a different thing if they're more in, a victim mindset potentially of it's never going to change for me. It's never going to be different. And that's a different thing of, rather than that, I'm not in a growth mindset right now because I've been in that for a long time. And it's almost, think of it as like ebbs and flow of the tide of, you have those times when the tide's moving forward and you're learning and growing, but you also need the tides when the times come back and you can rest and nurture. So almost that energy of being versus that energy of doing.
Good. Well done. Now, so what are the benefits of mentorship then for, someone that wants to go into leadership, grow into leadership?
Yeah. So mentorship is that safe space. It's that judgment free. It's mentors tend to be someone with, I've mentored as I moved up my corporate organizations. I started off when I was more junior, I'd mentored other junior people, but as I kind of got more senior, I would mentor people across the organization as well. And it's a safe space. It's someone that hopefully inspire you. It's where you can say things maybe you don't want to say in front of other people for fear of being judged. It's also someone that's a cheerleader for you. I remember very distinctly in corporate world, my mentors were cheerleaders for me. So someone that I would very much trust to say really positive things about me when I wasn't there. So when those conversations were coming up, around development reviews and things like that, I knew that was a person that I 100% could rely on to say really positive things about me. And be representing my interests when I'm not in the room, which is, hugely powerful. I think it's also someone that will probably challenge you, make you feel a little bit uncomfortable at times, so that you do grow and you do become more. And as leaders, leadership is really interesting because you can be really good at the thing you do, but it doesn't necessarily make you immediately a great leader. And leadership in itself is a huge journey. I remember the first time I became a leader with a direct report, and that direct report had being handed around. No one really wanted to work with them. It was really hard. I
Yeah,
found it so challenging, and
it is.
and
It
leaders
is.
should always be looking to learn and grow. And even when they're the MD, the CEO, the director and leader of their area, you can still learn from people at all levels of the
Yeah,
organization. I don't
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this in Lagos, but there's something called Undercover Boss.
Is
And
it? Is it on the undercover bus? Well,
yeah, I've never seen it.
I know there's this. Well, I've never seen it before, but I've heard
So
about
you
it.
probably it's quite an easy concept to get. So you're the head of a big organization. It's an American program, and then you go undercover as, I don't know, a trucker or a shelf stacker or someone in the restaurant or a trainee chef, and
Yeah,
you get behind the heart of your business to see what's going on, and you at the top have a perspective with
yeah.
numbers and reports and data and going out into the business, but you don't have it in the heartbeat of the business. And I
Wow.
think it's that powerful perspective of, this is what people on the ground are struggling with, or that this is their stories, this is the sort of people that have done a lot to support us on
Good.
a level
Good.
that help our customers.
That's really nice. Yeah,
Yeah, it's really cool. I really like it.
it is. It is. Now, I just have two more questions. I think we've covered a lot of ground, and I just want to celebrate you for your depth and authenticity as well.
You're welcome.
You really showing up and adding value. We just appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
I know of a friend who was in the oil and gas sector, and he had two of his direct reports who were actually like mentors to him.
Hmm.
So during a lunch break, maybe twice a week, they hang out together, and yeah, he learns from them. What do you think
Absolutely.
about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think sometimes you don't even need a label of what it is. I think if you're going into something formal and structured, like mentoring or coaching or, say, counseling on something specific, I think those need that contracting at the beginning. I think I had a couple of friends in corporate world in different businesses that we would do self-development work together, or we would do things like that together. So I think, again, if you take that undercover boss, that's the boss learning from people in the heartbeat of the business.
Yeah,
We can learn from our friends who have got different strengths and weaknesses than us. We can learn from our peers that are
yeah,
naturally good at numbers, whereas I've learned to be good at numbers. I'm not naturally there. It's just that, for me, a huge part of what I see really powerful leadership as is collaboration and actually caring about the people that
yeah,
work for you and work with you. And
yeah,
also, it's that Brené Brown's got this brilliant model of leadership, and it's daring versus armored. So armored is, I'm the leader, we're all going here, follow me. It's not necessarily about being questioned. It's about you want to feel that you have all the answers, and you become quite defensive and armored up when you're questioned.
yeah,
And yeah, people are going with you. They're kind of like directed to.
yeah,
And then that's armored, and then the daring style of leadership is, this is where we're going. We're all going there together. How do we get there? This is my idea. What do you think? And
yeah.
learning and growing from
Which
each
is good,
other
yeah.
within that. Care and connection and collaboration is at the heart of it. And that, to
That's
me, is very much the leadership that is needed in the times that we're in now, with hybrid working and remote working and all those things. Absolutely. And I love those slightly two different definitions.
yeah. It gives me. I'm fascinated by collaboration. On my podcast, I show up, with quite a number of people, and been doing that for about a year. So it's really helped me to also expand my thinking. I believe collaboration is the way forward to pivot, even like you said, post COVID, and you know even during this crisis. So you're able to do more. There's a saying that one can go fast, but two will go very far. That's
Mhm.
for my coach. John C. Maxwell. I'm on the John Maxwell team. And so, you have the benefit of doing a lot of collaborations with the team members and, all over the world. And even for our listeners, I'm also showing up with Nicola at a time like this. And I'm learning from her as well. She's sharing her thoughts. It's a win-win. So finally, who are your mentors?
Who are mine?
Your mentors.
Yeah. So I have a business coach. I have coaching supervision. So that's where I go and talk about improving as a coach.
Well done.
I have, not right now, but not in the not so distance past, had a counsellor. So it kind of depends what I need when I need it. And as part of my coaching qualification, I have an ongoing peer coach, and we're just setting up to have that ongoing coaching once a month, so that we both have an hour of each other's time to help, just to have, again, that safe space of a peer that we're kind of working on coaching hours to get to the next level of our qualification, but also someone that's known me and I've known them, and it's just that easy kind of coaching that you have as part of your support network.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm a coach. I'm always going to have a coach. That's the
way it is. That's the way it is. Coaches also need coaches.
Yes, usually.
Because you don't want to get to a level where you don't have an accountability partner.
No, not at all. Not at all. Coach, as a coach, you kind of learn over time to not take on. I'm an empath, so I can easily absorb people's energy. So it's really important to have a coach where I can, I have my own ways of kind of clearing my energy at the end of the day, but also to have that to discuss my things that are going on in my life. So I'm not bringing that into my coaching, and it's not influencing how I'm working with my clients, because they're almost paying to have clear time and energy from me, and very much focus on them. So
awesome. So it's been
awesome.
It's been amazing. It's been amazing.
Great questions.
So I just want you to in 30 seconds, if you like to just if our listeners all over the world want to contact you, would you like to drop is it LinkedIn or your social media platforms?
Yeah, so I'm mainly hang out on LinkedIn. So I am on there as Nicola Buckley. I've got my website, and my email address is nicolascorco.com. So that's my yet to be married name. So my branding beat my wedding. So nicolascorco.com, which is SKORKO.com. And then the email is nicola@nicolascorco.com. But probably the easiest way is just to message me on LinkedIn. Or add me and then message me.
Awesome. So if you just been listening, or you watching the replay, or listening to this podcast, been on with my friend from Cornwall, Nicola Buckley, so she's been amazing, added so much content on leadership and mentorship. This is the 46th episode of Leadership Talk with Adegoke. We're so privileged to have her, and she's shown up massively tonight. At this moment.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for coming, and to all our listeners, the same time, same platform. And the next series, next episode, just join us for the podcast Leadership Talk with Adegoke.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Bye.